Good morning, good morning, good morning. You're in tune to FM 98.9 on your radio dial. It's a beautiful Friday morning here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's hot. I'm drenched. I should have done like Trent and walk with a towel because let me tell you, napkins are not doing a good job at all. It's very hot on the outside. It's still, but it's beautiful. The sun is out in all its glory. It's green, so it's lush. It is paradise. And I've always said that though. I think it's where paradise is, and we experience it on a daily basis. We've been having some rain, which was quite good. After the rain stops and the sun comes out and the greenery, it is such a beautiful place to be. I understand why people visit our islands for holidays, but we who live here, we don't appreciate what we have, and you see that, but it is really a gorgeous day here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So when you look at what's happening around the world, you understand how blessed we are. You're in tune to Your Views. Your Views is a program that is aired every Friday on Win FM. It's a program where you can call in and you can share your views about any topic that we speak about. We speak about everything. We talk about politics. We talk about what's happening around the world. We talk about problems, domestic issues, any topic we can discuss. And, I really would like to, and always love to have your feedback. Sometimes I have with me a guest, and during that time, we would discuss a topic that, that for information purposes. And so sometimes I wouldn't open the lines, but most so than ever would like to have that interaction. My name is Sandra Quilly-Atherton, and I'm usually the host for Your Views. What are we going to talk about today? Oh, we must say, the Queen is dead. 70 years of reign and longest monarchy in the world, and longest reigning monarch in the world. And now we have a king. We have a king, CARICOM. We have a king. He is King Charles. It's strange from saying Prince Charles. King Charles III, and he has, now that the Queen is no longer, King Charles has stepped up to the plate, and Prince William is second to the throne. Everybody seems to have mixed emotions about the Queen. I mean, you look around the CARICOM countries and people are mourning the loss of the Queen. Others would think, because we're not accustomed and we haven't seen her and we don't know what her role is, because it's strange, a lot of us don't even know what the role of the Queen is and what she does, but we know that they're very rich. And there's some people who have had the notion, history is not always good to us. We don't always get the correct information. But some people who go deeper and dig and they find information that we don't have. And sometimes we're afraid to read it because it's not pleasant. And it's the sad part of life. It doesn't necessarily have to be where the monarchy is concerned, but we look at our lives in general and recognize that we do not get all the information that we need to get, and sometimes, most of the times, our decisions that we make, it's not based on information that we should have, and people should not judge others. That's what it comes down to, because most people do things because of the information that they have at that time. Later on in life, in retrospect, you look back, hindsight is 2020, you'd realize that, I should not have done that. But don't beat upon yourself, because at that time you did that based on the information that you would have had, and you make that decision. When you sit back down later on and you can analyze it, then you recognize you should have done something else instead of what you would have done. But that's what life is. It's a learning experience, and it's a journey, and it's a journey that you should learn from. It's not mistakes, I call them. I think I have the technician in, and he has gone with my mic. Yeah, I was having some issues with that. So I'm going to see what Trent brings for me. I'm not hearing anything because there's nothing there to hear. The sad thing about it, I don't know what it is, but it's really soft. So I know some people would be complaining that they're not hearing well, but I don't know what else it is. Maybe if I change headsets, I'm going to see if that is going to make a difference. But I am not hearing. I can hear myself, because I'm in here with myself, but I think others would be complaining that they're not hearing properly and that the volume is low. We are trying to fix it. It just doesn't sound well over here, but it's okay. Okay, it's okay. I don't really want to hear myself, because that's one of the issues when you start hearing yourself. Okay, so we were talking about life in general, and mistakes that we tend to make. Mistakes, I don't call them mistakes. Like I said, I call them learning experiences. And it's just what life is. But some of us don't learn from our experiences. And I think that's what it poses a problem, is that we do it over again. And then I would call that willful. Yes, thank you, Trent. Let's see if this make any difference. I think, I think it's just the connection that poses some issues, but I can work with it. It's okay, not a problem. As long as it's coming through and people can hear me, I really don't have a problem hearing myself. But I do appreciate the fact that your assistance, it has been good, and I'm back to concentrating on the topic at hand without any more interruptions. Yeah, we were talking about life. In St. Kitts and Nevis, it's actually 1 month. Time has really gone by, over a month actually. It's 5 weeks now since we would have contested an election. Today is September the 9th. It's 4 weeks and 4 days actually that since we've contested an election and the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party is in government. We've been seeing certain things, and of course, every government that takes office would go in and they would make certain changes because it is the right thing to do, and we do understand that. And I want to tell those of you who comment on the program, I do enjoy your comments, the negative ones and the positive ones. As a matter of fact, I enjoy the negative ones even more so because it allows me to make some necessary adjustments in my life if I find those comments something that I should do. So those of you who tune in and you are not happy with the program, it must be very painful when you can sit down and listen and all you sit there and do is comment negatively. And for those of you who think that you're doing a great job with those negative comments, I must tell you, I appreciate them. And I wish you would continue to listen, because sometimes something you would garner from the conversation. Yeah, the government has changed. St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party is now the government, and the Honourable Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, he is the man in charge, the man behind the wheels, and so we do hope that we give him a chance to prove himself. He's new. So we can't look at the history that he would have had, because he is now creating that. Every day he does something and it becomes history. And so later on we'll be able to add up the days and then we can judge him based on the decisions that he would have made. We see people who have been sent home or on extended leave. Some people who have basically, who knows that at the end of their leave that they would not be able to come back because they would have attained the age of 55, and so they know definitely that is the end of their tenure with the civil service. It is sad when one would, because of their constitutional right to support any party or vote for a party of their liking, that they have to be subjected to these things. I always say that there are people who are placed in position, people who think that it's politically appointed positions, but like everybody else, Dr. Drew is going to appoint people that he can trust into positions. But I wish when you would put somebody in that position, you would put the other person, find another position to put that person, because the idea is about creating jobs, not replacing people. Replacing people is not creating jobs. It is just a replacement, and so we are still in the same position that we are in. So we do wish and hope and understand that these people are ordinary citizens and they're not public servants. And because of the fact that somebody find that they were intellectually enough and they qualified and they were in a position to assist the country to move forward at the end of the day, because they support somebody else, these people have been sent home. We see people in the civil service who plays the game. We see people after an election who plays the game, people who would have supported a party and now have to stay on the down low because of fear that they would be victimized. And I think that is something that should not happen. I think it's something that is a practice for me that was ancient. And we think if we're moving, everything is changing. We should. These are the things. Mindsets should change. Attitude should change, and these practices should not be practices anymore. And any government who does that, any government, even the one that I support, I would say the same thing. And people should not be victimized because people have their families to feed. And surprise, surprise, this is what we call. This is when we see and what we see when people take the wrong way of becoming criminals because you have to support your family. People have to eat. And if you deny or deprive a person of the opportunity to feed their family, there must be some means or ways of surviving. You see what in the wild, what animals do when they have to survive. I mean, mothers would eat their young because people, it is human nature. As a matter of fact, it is nature because the plants do that, whatever they can do, whatever they have to do to survive, they would. And so we see that in nature. And so we wish that people would not look at situations. Like I said, I started this morning and said the queen is no longer, she's no longer the powerful person who sat on her throne. And I think on her way out, and she recognized that she was failing, and all of the activities that she would have had to be curtailed. I think in her moments when she sat home and never realized that Trent, we're having a knocking on the outside upstairs. Okay, we're having a knocking that is posing some issues. Yeah, I think in her moments that she sits down and she realized that she would have worked all her life, all of her life, and didn't have moments where she could have relaxed. She would reflect on the times that she didn't spend with herself and enjoy the natural beauty sometimes that England has to offer, and travel the world and see other people and culture. She would have done that only as like I said, not on a holiday, but as a work, as a job. And these are the things that we miss out on. So there are people who are powerful today, and tomorrow they are no longer in that position. And it's a message that I'm sending, that we have to recognize that sometimes we find ourselves in position where we are mightier than thou, and other times we find ourselves in positions when we are waiting for somebody to just come and sit and have a conversation, because life is really, really lonely, and we don't want to spend time with ourselves and reflect on the things that we would have done in our lives, because then our conscience becomes a problem, because what we would have done, it's not a good thing. And I always said to people, when I lay me down to sleep, I close my eyes and I go to sleep, because there's nothing I have to reflect on, because every day I make sure I try to do the best that I can. And if what I did is not the best thing, then and on reflection, I realize I would try to make it right, because it is a difficult thing. People, Christians who have heard about hell and heaven and think hell is a place where you're going to burn forever in fire and brimstone because of the Bible that they read. Hell, you experience it on a daily basis. Those of you who have to go to sleep and your conscience would not allow you because of the things that you would have done, that is your hell. Hell is something, a place that we would have created for ourselves. And so sometimes I always tell people I live in paradise because my memories are good. I try to make sure I make good memories. I'm not perfect. There's some mistakes I would have made in life. And in retrospect, like I said, hindsight is 2020. If I had the information that I would have now, I would not have done it then. But like I said, we all do make mistakes. For those people who spend time on social media, who have absolutely nothing to do with their lives, but just wait for somebody to post, and all they want to do is post negative things, I mean, get a life. For those people who listen to radio programs and have nothing good to say and just come on and divert attention, and people who really can get the essence of what is being said, and you just post all of these negative things about people, get a life. In life, we don't know what our portion is going to be. I remember when I was growing up, I used to look at children who are challenged in certain areas, and it always it hurts me, because when sometimes you can run and you can do simple things of life, and you see how people are challenged. It was one of the areas that I wish I could just zap and change. We see people, when I was growing up, again, is my story, everything I had that was good. best body ever. Everything was perfect. As you grow old, and I used to say, oh, people can do better. As you grow older and you realize that there are challenges and you see the same thing is happening, then you look back in life and you said, I should not have done that. Because then, life is showing you that some people just definitely can do otherwise. So those of you who sit down and comment on people physical or emotional challenges, get a life, because you don't know what your portion is going to be like. I know of a person who had some issues later on in life, and one day I got a chance to say to her, you see, when you were commenting on other people, this, you don't know what your portion is going to be. And she said to me, Sandra, it is so true. Sometimes we have to be very careful on the things that we do, because we don't know when karma is going to come back to us. And these are the things, it's little things that we have to focus in life and recognize that we are on a journey, and the good thing about it is that we cannot see what the future holds. And so what we have to do is make sure that you are positive today, because one of the things that when you have that positive energy, it recreates into more and more positive energy. And so as you grow older, you become more positive, and life becomes it's worth living, and the world becomes a beautiful place that you can enjoy. And that is what life is. And these are the simple things that you have to take with you in life. For those of you who cannot have an understanding of this and who would continue to do what you're doing, may the Lord have mercy on your soul, because it is just that. It's the silly things that we do. So I started off with politics and basically veered off to some life experiences and some life teachings. We now know, like I said before, that the government has changed, and we have two parties that is in the opposition. One party I would like to talk about this morning, and is the People's Labour Party. For me, growing up, I was a Palmer People's Action Movement supporter. My mother was, and we followed in the trend, not having an understanding of why, and we all do that. We have not having an understanding of why we support political parties, because we think it's the right thing to do. Our parents do it. I see my children are following in my shoes. Not all of them, because my son, he looks at the situation himself and he does his own analysis and recognize that people shouldn't just follow. People should analyze and make decisions of who you're going to vote for. I like the fact that he thinks that you don't have to always vote for the same party, because at the end of the day, some of the parties that you're supporting, they would go off in the wrong direction. They would start off good, and later on they'll start doing wrong things. And when that time happens, you should make the necessary changes, recognizing that you're not just voting for a party, you're voting for a party that can boost the economy and can address the problems that poor people or the ordinary people are facing on a daily basis. We now know that, like I said, we look at PLP. PLP is a party that would have started in, I think, if I'm not wrong, 2013. It's a party that came out, and in the first instance, they became a coalition with PAM and CCM and formed the Unity Construct, and on the leadership of Timothy Harris. And we would have seen some great things done from that union with PAM, CCM, and PLP. The country we would have seen, and it's not just going back. If we forget our history, I think that is one of the biggest problems, because if we forget our history, it means that we're going to make the same mistakes again. We would have seen us coming, that unity construct, reversing some of the issues that were faced from the previous administration, where our lands were swapped for that, and that was some of our lands were bought back. We were in the hands of the IMF. We were now taking. They did that. We saw the poverty alleviation program in place. We saw the peace program coming into being. I suppose this administration is going to go in and they're going to look and see whether or not it was done correctly, or some of the infringements that were done, and they would make right. But it's just seeing where people are and how you can make certain adjustment and fix. We see us coming out an era of a global pandemic. COVID-19 wreaked havoc on our economy and on our people, and we saw them I was so much impressed how they steered the ship. We didn't feel the effects as badly as the other countries in the world because this we had great control over COVID-19. So we saw some of those things happening. We saw the fact that our country was locked down. We saw our economy being affected big time. We saw the taxi drivers, the tourism sector, which is our main source of income, one of our main source of income, have been seriously affected. And we saw people having to struggle because of the pandemic. We saw stimulus packages that has been given. And later on, right after that, we have seen a government who would have given 4 to 5 double salaries, I'm not sure, within the 7 years that they were in office. So there was some good. We are looking forward to the other goods that this administration is going to bring. We see Dr. Drew in his first 15 days, he would have made some promises, and according to him, he would have come through good on the promises made. And this is what you want when you put people or governments in office. It is for all of us who are going to benefit, or all of us who are going to feel the squeeze if government do not perform. So it doesn't make sense to sit down waiting for governments to fail, because if government fail, it means that you would be affected. So for me, I'm the kind of person who wants to see a government who not just make promises, but a government in office who are going to do things where the people are going to benefit from it. One of the areas that I want to see that the government address more sooner than later is the small business enterprises. We need help. And that is a fact. Otherwise, the government will find themselves in a similar position where the civil service is overpopulated, and people are waiting on the outside, and they're going to say the same thing. I voted for a government to be in power, and at the end of the day, I did not benefit because the civil service is over the populated. So we're waiting for the government to see whether or not they can, or what they can do to boost the small business sectors. So we're waiting for that to happen. In the meantime, we look at what's happening as an opposition. PLP is a party that's in opposition, and you must say kudos to them, because it was a party, like I said, started off joining with a coalition in order to form the government. They did that in two consecutive terms. One of the terms they completed, the other one was not completed because of internal issues where we have people who look for themselves and not for people who would have supported them. These are the things, this is the lesson that I would have learned coming out of that breakdown in the marriage, the collision between the PLP, PAM, and CCM government, where you see individuals not having any respect for people who would have supported them and put them in office just because of ego and power. They would have brought us to a situation that we're in. And maybe that is one of the good reasons for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party to be in office today. But PLP, PAM, I'm going to admonish you that the country needs an opposition. Any government in power needs an opposition, because if that governments tend to become complacent, and especially when they're not opposed, they do things that they're not supposed to do, because power becomes an issue. And it is a fact that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that is a fact. It has been proven so. So an opposition is absolutely necessary. And for those of 5,000 people who would have voted for PLP, know that PLP is in reconstruction mode. If the fact that you're out of office, it means that you must have done something wrong. So I suppose they're addressing the areas that they think mistakes were made, and they are hoping to fix that and come out as a more vibrant party, a party with good intentions and understanding of how to boost an economy, and having to be in opposition will be one of the best opposing party that St. Kitts and Nevis would have ever seen. I think that they want to thank the people who would have supported them, the over 5,000 people who would have voted for them. I think the candidates would have gone out and they would have thanked all those who would have exercised their constitutional rights to vote. I know a lot of people are hiding right now because of fear that they would be victimized because of the party that they supported. And I think that is absolutely wrong. People have a right. Everybody's not going to vote for the same party. There are people who run for Labour who previously was on or wanted to run for PLP. And we look at those opportunistic people who just want an opportunity to be in government. And when they get in there, they forgot that they were operating to, or they were a part of the PLP or the PAM party. We see people who are in there now chanting, get rid of them, when they were in the same party that they're asking to get rid of. And they were part of the policies, and they served for the first term and would have benefited in that first term. And because I suppose, I don't know, whatever the reasons are, but they would have moved away from the party, and they themselves are chanting because they want another opportunity to get rid of them. You cannot get rid of citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. We see in an election, and it's something that irks me every time, where foreigners are paid to vote, the criminal elements are paid to vote, and the ordinary citizen who really looking for a government who is going to do well for the country, you're not paid to vote. At the end of the day, you're victimized. I think this is very sad. It is a practice that has to stop. We are encouraging people, and we are encouraging people of different type of caliber. We don't know why they're here. We don't know of their history, but we encourage them to come. And while they're here, you have to make sure that they can live. We see government changes policies to accommodate them. It is a sad thing. People say when you go away, you expect them to do the same, but most of the time it's not so. If I travel to Jamaica and I want to go to university, I have to pay. If I go to the hospital, as because of the fact that I'm not a citizen there, I would have to pay. It happens, it's a practice that happens throughout the world. And I know we want to be accommodating, and we want to welcome all, and we want to be the good government that we say we promise that we are going to be. But some of these are political promises, and sometimes it irks me, again, I'm going to use the word, where you see people are victimizing your own citizens because of the fact they did not support you, and they're putting in people who are not citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. You see people who would have gotten favors to become citizens because or residents because they want them to vote. These are practices that I find, and I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know. There are a lot of things that I am exposed to now, and it sickens me to my stomach when people are going to come out and behave like they're holier than thou when they're practicing the same thing that they are talking about. It is a fact. We can say how bad it is, and for me, it is sad that we say it is so bad, but because people are you in a position now to expose it, you fail to realize that it's something you would have done also. I am not condoning it because I think wrong should be condemned. And politicians, I'm looking at politics now as a horrible thing. It's for me, it's a job of opportunities. It's not because people are genuinely interested in the people or citizens of the country that they do hope to serve. History would show you and prove me right that lots of time you look at countries like Haiti who are rich in natural resources, but the people are extremely poor. You look at Africa, a similar situation, rich in natural resources, but the people are extremely poor because you have people who go in because they're just looking for that opportunity to enrich themselves, families, and close friends. And we talk about it, and guess what? We practice the same thing. So when you go in and you start sending home people because they supported a party that is not the same party that you know that is in government or governs, it is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. You see what happens when you're part of government, you're part of the public sector. When you lose your seat, you go home. It's a natural thing to do. But if I'm employed by government and I'm a permanent secretary or otherwise, I'm not going to pack up and get ready to leave because I am qualified for the job. I was given the job because I thought, or the government felt, that I was very suitable in encouraging some of the programs that they have, or qualified for the programs that they are going to push forward to help boost the economy. And when I would have done that, later on, a new government take place, and because of the fact that I did not support them, I am sent home. It is wrong. It is wrong. I was contemplating on stopping my program because for me, you ask yourself the question, what would it benefit anybody for you to come on and just talk and talk and talk? And later on, you become the face or a target. And trust me, I serve the universe, and I do understand that the protection comes from there. And whenever you do good, it boosts and it enhances, and the universe grows because of the positive energies that you put there, and you're protected. And so I am protected by the universe. And I think I have a right, it's my constitutional right, to talk without fear and hope that I would not be favored, because that's not the reason why I'm talking either. I'm talking because it's the right thing to do. So for those of you who feels like, why don't you go home and come off of the radio and stop? It's because of the fact that sooner or later, those of you who think that I should go home will come back and thank me, because guess what? Politicians are who they are. They are human beings. They are human beings when given an opportunity. I see some people who come from humble upbringings, who are accustomed of doing things the ordinary way, just like me. You used to have to head water from the dam to come home and make sure that you have water to drink, to bathe, and your mother can wash and cook. That is the lifestyle you grew from. Then you find yourself in a position where you have access to monies, and there are deals that you can enrich yourself and become rich overnight, and after a while you forget from whence you came. And you start behaving like you're mightier than thou and than anybody else, and you can make decisions because at that time you're the most powerful person in that country. It's wrong, because life has a way of humbling you again. You might have all of the monies that you have, and sooner or later in life, all of that money wouldn't mean a thing to you. If you buy 10 cars, you can only drive one at a time. And it's going to take you the same place. It doesn't matter whether it's a Lamborghini, an Audi, a BMW, or one that you would have customized. But how does it feel when you have so much and there's so many people out there who are still suffering? The people who put you in office, they still have to struggle to send their children to school. They still have to struggle because they have health issues and they don't have the money to pay for it. And these are the same people who put you in office. But the first thing you do when you get there, and I'm talking to all politicians, is to see how you can basically enrich yourself and friends and families around you. I've seen it. I didn't know it was like that. The closer you get, the more active you become. There are lots of lessons to learn. Politics is not a bad thing. Politicians are human. And that is what poses the problem. When you find yourself in a position of power, then you feel like you can do what you can do. You become heartless. You move from a person that was once loved, a person who won, and that was one of the reasons why people voted for you, because you're a person who loved. There are people who goes to church and would say, God called them and put them there, and you wonder which God they're talking about because of the things that they do. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm saying that we have to make sure that we have a viable opposition, one that can keep, along with the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, the politicians' feet to the fire. But I'm going to ask, because I'm hearing ordinary citizens saying the same thing. You say you were victimized and you understood how it felt, but yet still you're calling for the same practice to continue. It was wrong then when it happened to you, and it's wrong now. And you listen to the narrative and you wonder how people have become so heartless. You can't say I'm that kind of person. I've defended. I said when I realized that people have been, Dr. Harris was dragged down, and you saw that in the campaign where his character was villainized and demonized is the worst thing ever. I didn't have the experience that you had. And so I defended him because it was the right thing to do. When you find out otherwise, then you would say otherwise. But it's the same thing you're looking here. And I've tried, one of the things that I've always make sure that I do is that I do not condemn without information or condone without information. Sometimes you don't have all of the information. And sometimes a man can look as though he's as innocent as he can be. And later on you find out he was the one. He's as guilty. But it's based on the information that produced. And because we're not superhuman and we can't read minds, then we have to believe based on the evidence that is put forward. So, as a human being, we have to realize and use ourselves as examples that we do make mistakes. Although we shove everything in our closet sometimes and think people don't see, we can be our own judges, jurors. We do things, we do wrong things. We are not perfect. And it's the same thing. People will do the same. So don't go around judging people, because a lot of times you start to judge people and you're doing even worse. I've listened to people talk, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Some of the information that are so hidden. And there's some people that you defend, and later on in life, you'd recognize if you had only known, you would not have done it. There are lots of people you've defended. I've experienced that. I would have defended people, put my neck on a block. And then you find out that the person that you're defending is exactly what people have been saying when you find out later on. So, let's go back to the point of a viable opposition and PLP's journey to where they're at right now. The People's Labour Party, I find, should be commended for their the results that they would have gotten in the contest in the last election. In less than 3 months, you had people who were ordinary people, very ordinary people, who were placed on a ballot as a constituency representative with no experience of politics whatsoever. In less than 3 months, you had to prepare these people. They were ridiculed, but for me, I saw and I heard some of the promises that they would have had, and that was based on the experiences that they would have had in the constituency that they would have represented. And I saw them rose to the occasion. I was very much impressed. I can talk about some of them, and the one that I've seen Mark, a man of little words, but I interviewed him and recognized this man had a wealth of knowledge and great understanding of the department in which he would have become minister. Didn't get a chance to do that. But I do hope that this administration would look at him as a person who can be an asset to the country and would use his expertise to get us to where we're supposed to go. And forgetting party affiliations and the fact that he didn't vote for the Labour Party. I've looked at young Kendall. I was so impressed with that young guy. Came out of nowhere, a young man who, if had given the opportunity, I know would have done well, exceptionally well. And this information is going out to the people who supported the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party and never took a chance or the time to understand these young candidates and listen to them and see what they would have had to offer. Working with them was even more exciting because we see that, all is not lost. There's still hope. And in the event that this government would mess up, you have an alternative in the People's Labour Party. The candidates there, for me, if given a chance, they can do well. I like the fact that they're naive and they're young and they don't have an idea of some of the things or some of the corruption and that can go on inside of politics. It would take them some time to get there, and so during that time, we would benefit from the information that they have, their intellect. We can benefit from. And that is why I believe that government should not have extended term more than 2 terms in office, because during those 2 terms, you find means and ways of rigging the system, and it's a fact. And so you give people who have the information, the qualification to start to experience, and give it, and so that we can benefit. And when they reach to the point where they have an understanding of moving away or using their experience to rigging a system, it's time for them to go. In constituency number 2, I saw Nubian Grail. The way people embraced him. And you get a better understanding of the person who he is. I saw him walk around, never understood all the good things that he would have done for the community. I mean, he didn't get a chance, unfortunately. I really thought he was one who would have won his seat. The peace program, the interactions with people, the guys who have made mistakes in their life, and the way he would have brought them together and make sure our streets were clean or safe. That was one of his contributions early. And these are young people that you see, like I said, in less than 3 months, they became people who could have served us. In number 3, of course, there was Akila whose term was cut short, unfortunately. In the 2 years you saw what she did, the situation that she would have done for the people of Lagreed, unfortunately. And people would say, oh, they had to pay for it. But she can only take certain measures. Everything else is dependent on leadership. So she can see that there's a need for the people to get their lands, but the terms and conditions are not, she cannot make those. But it's the things that she saw as a young woman, a young candidate, and the things that she brought to fruition. I listened to her on the platform, and I look at her as a leader for the future. She has the qualities of a good leader. I think she understands politics in a very short time. I'm very impressed by the things that she says. I like her character. It's very suiting. We have always looked for somebody who can be a female prime minister, and honestly, I think that she's the next. She's suitable and she's qualified for that position. I look at Jackie in constituency number 1, and she got the shortest time, less than 6 weeks she was there. You listen to her on the platform and you believe that she was a person who was there all her life. Not a good understanding of politics. I suppose interviewing would have given her a chance to understand there's certain things that she had to do, but a good worker in the constituency and understanding the problems that are faced on a daily basis by the ordinary people of constituency number 1. I think she was qualified and equipped to make that difference. Of course, Jeffrey's there. Jeffrey's a young man that I knew growing up, and he was always a person who worked in the constituency and always around. He's a good helper, not because he's on St. Kitts Labour Party. He has always been he's a very good person, and I know that it's a pity that all good people can't do the same thing, but at one point in time, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. I look at Shani too. Shani, for me, is a good prospect for politics. She's a mother who just gave birth to a child, and I saw how she was on the campaign trail and she was doing what she think it was best, sacrificing her child for the people of constituency, the constituents of constituency number 1. And it gives me a good feeling to know that we have alternative to what we have, and we should look at these things and not just look at what the government is going to do, but how we can build and develop replacements for the future. Because like I said, sometimes after you find yourself in office for a very long time or a short time and you recognize that there are means of ways of becoming corrupt, you lose your self-value and the promises that you'd have made to the people or citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, and you fall through. So we always have to make sure that we have a good alternative. And then we're going to go down, of course, to constituency number 5. We had a veteran in Sean Richards. We had Kenny Douglas. I mean, he have attempted how many? I don't know how many chances he would have had, but he has not been successful in Sandy Point. Then we have Stasio. Stasio is a successful businessman, and I know that he was one of the people who the electronic age, he has contributed highly to that. He has made a difference in the life of the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I suppose Sandy Pointers was hoping that he would have been given a chance to make a difference in their lives, but that was not meant to be. The universe didn't think that was necessary at this time. I suppose there was certain work or more work to be done in the People's Labour Party, and I think the universe didn't think that they were the right party for this time. But sooner or later, I think with the changes, and if they can work and do the things that are necessary, clean up some areas that needs to be cleaned up, because we know that for a fact. We see where parties themselves can become complacent and things can happen. We talk about the leadership of the People's Labour Party. We saw what the leader could have done. He have left a legacy. He was in the Labour Party. He came over again in the unity construct, and we see he have left a legacy where poor people or the ordinary people has always been part of his concentration. He would have come up with programs like the Poverty Alleviation Program. Not him alone. Everybody's going to say that. I know that's what they're going to say. But and he made it work. And so these are kudos. And instead of victimizing, we have to start to look at the areas where they would have done well. In the 7 years that they were in office, I didn't think that the unity construct failed. Within themselves, they failed to, what their failures is to be able to work together as a team. That was one of their biggest failures. But failing the people, citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, they did not do that. Failing to boost our economy in times of when we were in dire straits, they did. We can't say they failed. They failed in serving the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. They did very well. Each one of them should be commended. But they failed big time. And that's what I said. That's what corruption does. When you go in and you start to see things and you become the center of attention, you become the person that has to be satisfied, then we have situations like this. But I must still congratulate them on the 7 years that they would have done. 7 years, 7 good years. They've placed St. Kitts and Nevis at the top of the list. Best economy in the Caribbean. This is something that they would have done, not just the Caribbean and the world. They could have competed. And they should be congratulated for that. We are waiting. Like I said, Dr. Ju, he's inexperienced. He has never been a prime minister. He's green. Maybe that's what we want to see at this time. But I do hope that he doesn't listen to people who have been there before and start making the same mistakes. And the promises that he would have made and the reason why he was voted into office, I hope it's something that he would hold dear to his heart, and he would make sure that things like this happen. So it's about building. I think they think that my time is up, but there's no clock in here, and that's the unfortunate thing. But it's about building an economy. It's about making sure that you create jobs and not replace people, because that was part of the mandate and the part of the promise that you would have had. So you, instead of replacing people and sending home people, and people using the term victim, it's not everybody that went home or people who on vacation leave. It's victimization. We must stop doing that. Let us look see what it is first. At the end of their leave, whether or not they would be recalled in the civil servant service. I know there's some civil servants who would have attained the age of 55, and so or some who have had extended contracts. I do hope that, Dr. Ju, that you would see these people and hope that they would give them a chance to continue to do what they've been doing. You would have inherited a good economy, a country that is top. And these are people who are going home who are there. They're the ones who would have contributed to that. So if we want to continue to be where we are, then I suppose you have to use people or people with like minds to do the same thing in order to keep us in the position that we are and would help us to propel even further. So, PLP is a party that is growing, and those of you who are supporting the party know that they are reconstructing. There are certain areas that they have to look at, mistakes that were made, and they would have to fix it. And they're there, and they will continue to be there. It's a party that is vying for political office in the very, very near future. So I suppose going through the rebuilding stage, looking at the areas that they would have made the mistakes and fixing it. And I can tell you, from what we would have seen, it's a party that can do very well for the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis because they have been given a chance. Leadership was there. We have candidates who were there in the building process, and they are still there. And I think they have a good understanding of what it takes and the knowledge of how to get us to continue to propel forward. I see that that the king is here, and he's getting ready to do his Voices program. My program runs from 10 to 11 every Friday morning, and I can't believe time would have flown so quickly because I was just getting ready to talk about other things, but realizing that my time is up. I was even contemplating on opening the lines, but time is flying, and it has been said that the world Earth is spinning faster on its axis, so the days are getting shorter. For those of you Bible scholars, I know you think it's the time for the apocalypse, because the Bible would have said that in the last days the sun will become hotter. If that is a fact, it is now happening, and the days will become shorter. Well, that again is a fact. We see that. I can't believe time would have flown so quickly. I can't believe today is Friday again. I mean, it's just, I can't seem to. School just opened on Wednesday and Monday, and the kids are home again for the weekend. Time is flying, and so because time is flying so quickly, we have to start looking at ourselves because life is changing. And so the things that we were doing then, we have to do them no more. We have to start trying to live life in love and peace. The weather, climate change is wreaking havoc in different countries. We have floods in Pakistan. We have floods in South Korea. We have rivers drying up in Europe. We have wars and rumors of wars you have wars in Russia and Ukraine, and you have rumors of war in India and Korea, and we have all of these things that is happening around us, and it shows that there are too many negative energies inside of the atmosphere, and so we have to start giving a little more love and making sure that we can put some more positive and create that balance that Earth needs for it to start to perform in the way it should perform. The sun is going through a midlife crisis. We have lots of solar storms that are happening at this point in time. We saw what the lightning would have done in some places in Antigua, and we see that the world is changing. And I'm asking you, you can change your attitude. Just be kind and good and nice to your fellow, your sisters, your brothers, your neighbors, your friends, and change what is happening in the world. Earth is getting angry. It is retaliating. And if we want to continue to inhabit Earth, then we have to do things that is going to change it. We have to get rid of all the negative energy that we put into the atmosphere and try to replace it with positive energy. It is Friday. It is a day where people who would have taken some time off from work can try to relieve some of their stress. We ask that we recognize that the viruses are still in the atmosphere. The mask would have protected us, and we continue to ask if you can adhere to protocols, continue to wear your mask, social distance, make sure you keep up your hygiene, you sanitize every time you find yourself in a situation, and try to make St. Kitts and Nevis a better place and a safe place. And I do hope that you would enjoy the rest of the weekend. My name is Sandra Quilliatitan. Continue to stay tuned to NFM 98.9. Voices is up next.
Ain't no place like home. Me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me no know what them a talk about when them say think it's mad. Whenever